are here with Jon Driedger, Senior Market Analyst with Farmlink Marketing Solutions. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
Great. All right. So the USDA report came out late last week. A little bit surprising about the soybean yields. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, certainly the soybean yields came in on the high side of expectations going in, and actually probably really above even the upper end of the ranges going in. So that was definitely a little bit of a surprise from the market's perspective. Now, I mean, at the same time, USDA did walk some of their demand numbers higher, and in many ways probably put them maybe more realistically in line with where they will end up coming in at the end of the year. So the change to the carryout wasn't that big in terms of where they expect the carryout to be at the end of the crop year. But certainly the supply side or the production number came in a little above what the market was definitely looking for, and obviously the prices responded accordingly.
Yeah, because this is significantly up even just from October. So this is a big bump even just from the last.
Yeah, and the market had been looking for an increase to the production number. So in that way, it's not that the production number was higher that it caught the market off guard. It's just that it did come in above what the market was looking for in terms of the adjustments. And so we've seen that number move higher here a little bit over the last couple of reports, as expected, based on yield results as we got into the harvest, and certainly that's above what expectations had been, say, earlier in summer. And so what you see is say, for example, on the corn side, the production has been poor, and the numbers have reflected that. And so there's been a little bit of an adjustment higher, but certainly nothing that dramatic from a production standpoint. And corn, soybeans, as harvest was advancing, reports just coming out that the soybeans just held up much better through the dry conditions and the heat over the summer, and that's showing up in the USDA numbers here, and so they're starting to catch up with that, and actually now coming in a little bit above what expectations were going in.
And so the market did certainly react accordingly. How is this impacting the canola market at all?
Well, certainly canola came under some pressure on Friday in response. Markets are closed here today on Monday for Remembrance Day, so I'm assuming that canola probably would be trading lower today, in sort of following the soybeans lower, because we've got some fall through selling here today on the grain markets. So I certainly canola is getting pushed lower in sympathy with the soybeans, and whereas the soybean production number has sort of been walked higher as harvest has come along, I don't think we'll see that in the canola. The last StatsCan report had a low production number in terms of the canola, and I doubt that we'll see much in terms of upward revision here going forward. So in that regard, canola is in a little bit of a different situation, but obviously not an island unto itself, and it's gonna see some spillover selling. As we've seen in the soybeans here, it'll definitely get follow soybeans in terms of at least seeing some pressure, even if it's maybe somewhat muted.
Okay. Yeah. Further too, we've been having some discussions about the canola market, or the canola production numbers being revised quite low in the last StatsCan report. Any indication that crush is slowing down at this point, and any rationing there happening, or is it still?
We haven't really seen a whole lot of that yet. We're crushing at a pretty good pace here, according to the weekly numbers. Now, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as we go forward. Certainly earlier in the year, a lot of the crushers will have forward-bought canola, and so what you'll have is producers delivering against forward contracts, but maybe a situation where, from the farmer's perspective, maybe now they're more heavily sold than they thought they were, maybe when they made those sales in spring or summer, because their yields came in lower. The other part is that certainly crush margins have maybe taken a little bit of a beating here with the break lower, particularly in soybean oil and the veg oil markets in general, which relates back to bigger palm oil production and weaker palm oil prices, and as these products are all related. And so whether that crush will continue to stay at a strong pace due to a combination of poor margins, less seed out in the country, I guess that certainly remains to be seen yet. Now, we certainly in terms of the S&D, I mean, we certainly need to try and ration some of that crush demand. So just because crush is maybe down a little bit doesn't necessarily automatically mean that the market has fully done its job. But certainly that's something we'll definitely be watching very closely here as we go forward.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else in the market that really took anybody by surprise?
With the report on Friday, it wasn't even necessarily so much that the numbers were that much off from what the market was coming in. Certainly, the soybean number again was a little bit on the high side, but rather it's the market responded to it poorly. We've pushed into some negative technical indicators, broken through some support levels, and we've had some weakness in some of the outside markets here as well in terms of stock markets and crude oil, and it's all fed on each other and resulted in a few sharply lower days. So probably the price response is probably greater than the numbers in and of themselves at face value would suggest is warranted, but it was a market that was maybe looking a little bit on the fragile and vulnerable side anyway, and so it's just one more reason to cause some liquidation here, particularly with too many longs that have been on the wrong side of the market here for too long now. So we'll may continue to see a little bit more pressure here before things are fully washed out, and maybe we start getting in some bargain hunting and bottom picking maybe from some end users.
Great. Okay, thanks so much, John.
You're welcome.